A college football preview for the Cal Golden Bears. Let's get right into it. For starters, the stars of this team. Then, of course, a couple of storylines, losses, and additions for the roster. And then last but not least, an X Factor game followed by a record prediction. First up, the stars. Jacob DeJesus, he is a wide receiver coming in from UNLV. If you'll notice, the vast majority of the stars, actually all the stars that I'm going to talk about today, are indeed transfers. First up, Jacob DeJesus. He had 600 scrimmage yards last season, 500 receiving, 100 rushing. Kind of a small guy, but somebody that can definitely be used in the gadget game, jet sweeps. Giving him the ball in the backfield is a really good idea. The screen game as well, even deep shots. So I think he's going to be weaponized for this Cal offense. And then the guy that's going to be throwing him the ball, Devin Brown. This is a really interesting quarterback prospect that I want to talk about. Somebody that wore a weird number for Ohio State, but in my opinion, kind of a gadget guy like Taysom Hill. I don't know about his traditional pocket passing, but we'll see how he does with Cal. He's going to be the starter as of right now. So with that being said, that's the offense. Now defensively, TJ Bush Jr., another transfer guy, comes in. Let's see, where is he from? He's from Liberty. So not exactly a Power 4 caliber type guy. Transfers to Cal to seek a starting job on a Power 4 team that obviously is getting ready to probably struggle this upcoming season. But 5.5 sacks last year, so something to write home about there. I think he can perform well for Cal on the defensive side of things. And then Harrison Taggart, middle linebacker. He's going to probably be the signal caller as well as the leading tackler. He had 69 tackles last year. Comes in from, I believe, BYU. Yeah, BYU. That's correct. He was one of the leading tacklers on BYU. He's going to have to do the same thing for Cal. Now, the first storyline that I want to talk about for the Golden Bears is during the Justin Wilcox era, no offense to him, the Cal Bears have been middling, to say the least. Now, of course, they hosted College Game Day, I believe, for the first time ever last year versus Miami, a game that they blew a massive lead in. Miami ended up winning. They were relevant last season, to say the least. But overall, throughout Justin Wilcox's tenure there, 6-6, 5-7, 75, maybe even 4-8. That's been the status quo, and I think that's kind of where they're at and where they might always be. Now, what are the problems that you can point to? Well, number one, the most important problem, especially in the modern NIL era, is their failure to retain talent. And I'm going to talk about some of the guys that they lost from this roster. NFL caliber talent was lost on this roster last season, even though I believe last year they might have gone 6-6, maybe 5-7. This is a Bears or Golden Bears roster, or it used to be, that had the talent to win some of these games. They just did not reach the mountaintop in some of them. So could that be an NIL issue? They're ranked 38th in the country. Potentially. Could it be a recruiting problem? You get talented guys, but not enough talented guys at one time? Potentially. Overall, though, I think that this Justin Wilcox era kind of is going to get to a end that, or a means to an end, I guess, in the next couple of years. I don't know how much more the fan base, the boosters, and of course the NIL donors will take average seasons, especially now that they're in a weaker conference in the ACC. So that's storyline number one. Let's talk about the losses from this roster and the additions. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and skip the additions part of things. I've already talked about the 4 major transfers that have come in. There have been a ton of others, but not really any of note outside of Jacob DeJesus, Devin Brown, TJ Bush Jr., and Harrison Taggart. So I don't really want to go back and rehash that. You've already heard their stats from last year and where they're going to be positionally. The losses side of things, though, that's something of note and to talk about. The secondary took a massive hit. 3 starting corners for Cal were lost to the NFL. Marcus Harris goes to the Titans, 5 pass deflections, 2 interceptions. Not good at all. Noel Williams goes to Kansas City, 7 interceptions, one of the leaders in the country in interceptions, 8 pass deflections. Teddy Buchanan, 114 tackles. He was actually a linebacker for Cal last year. 114 tackles for the team, led the team last year in tackles. And then last but certainly not least, Craig Woodson, a safety for Cal, goes to the Patriots. He was third in tackles, had 7 pass deflections, so they're really going to have to rebound defensively. And then they lost the vast majority of their offensive production as well. Fernando Mendoza, quarterback, responsible for the majority of their passing yards. They did kind of have like a weird 2-quarterback system there going for just a little bit, I believe, at the beginning of the season. But Mendoza became the starter, 3,000 yards passing, 16 touchdowns. He's been the best Cal quarterback since probably Jared Goff. And they lose him after one good season of production. He transfers to Indiana. Kurt Cignetti saw him on the tape and said, that's my guy for the future. Next up, Jaden Ott, who is one of the best running backs in the country. His season got cut a little bit short last year. I think he missed 7 games, but he was a massive part of the offense the season before. So that's a major issue. He had 3,000 scrimmage yards and 30 touchdowns. 30 touchdowns in 3 seasons for Cal. That's a major problem and a major hole in the offense. And then in the receiving core, Jack Injuries transfers to Texas. He's going to be taking over that Gunnar Henderson role, I believe is his name. I think we know who I'm talking about here. He just went to the NFL. That's going to be the next top Texas tight end target. He was a big part of this offense. He was the leading receiver, as a matter of fact. 600 total yards receiving. And the guy that was second in receiving, Nazia Hunter, 575 yards, 5 touchdowns as a freshman. He goes to Nebraska to pair up with Dylan Raiola. Once again, 8 of these guys, leading tacklers, leading in interceptions, leading in passing yards, receiving yards, 30 touchdowns from the running back. All of these guys have now left the program. This is a black hole, in my opinion. One of the things that I think Cal is going to struggle with, and this is getting into storyline number 2, is reloading and development. There was a ton of premium talent on this team. I've talked about it for about 5 minutes now. And that's pretty much all gone. How does this team rebound with an entire portal or an entire roster full of portal guys? I think that they can do it. I mean, I think their portal class was strong. It was not great, but they can get guys like Devin Brown come in and be a diamond in the rough, as well as Jacob DeJesus and other guys on this offense will have to step up and become a major factor in the playmaking category, I guess. So the reloading is going to be the focus of where Cal sits. They have a really easy schedule, in my opinion. So can they take advantage of that and get back to a bowl game? That's going to be the main one that I'm watching. The second thing that I'm going to watch is Cal's offensive line, despite what I thought was an overperformance last year, still struggled tremendously in the run game. Now, a lot of that might have had to do with the fact that Jaden Ott was missing from the backfield for the majority of the season, but they ranked below 100 in almost every major rushing category. Now, they bring in 4 new starters, and like I said, they'll be without Jaden Ott, but I think prioritizing winning the line of scrimmage is going to be extremely important because a new quarterback in a new system that doesn't have a lot of starts under his belt is not going to be a gunslinger. I hate to break it to you, Cal Bears fans, but that's not the MO. I guess that's what I would classify it as. That's not the MO of a new quarterback. He's not going to come in and just start slinging the rock. Coaching staff, roster-wise, they're going to want to run the ball. I think it starts at the line of scrimmage. They've got to improve. Like I said, they bring in 4 new starters, so that could be the difference maker. But let's hop right into our last part of this video, the record prediction and X Factor game. X Factor game that I'm looking at, very similar to the Miami game last year. I think Duke is going to come all the way from the East Coast to Cal to play in a game where they are not the most prepared to do it. They're going to be sleeping on Cal. I don't think that the Golden Bears are going to have a hot start to the season. They're going to be, just now becoming a cohesive coherent team in terms of team chemistry by about week 6, week 7. That's going to be when this game is versus Duke. I think that they can take advantage of a Duke team that will probably be wary from the start of the season and wary from the traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast. It's a statistical fact that East Coast teams traveling west do not do as well as West Coast teams traveling east. So I think this will be an interesting game for Manny Diaz, the coach at Duke. They've got a new quarterback, a few new weapons on offense. I am curious to see where they go from here. So that's my X Factor game. That's upset potential and potentially bowl game clinching type game. So let's hop right into the record prediction and we'll see where we go from there. Game number 1 at Oregon State. I think that this Oregon State team is better than a lot of people chalk them up to be. I think that they can pull off the victory against Cal. As a matter of fact, Oregon State, I believe, is favored in this game, as they should be. They've got better quarterback play. They have more cohesion and chemistry on their roster. Their coaching staff is solidified together. They're a part of the mission. They're alumni of Oregon State. So it's all built within the foundation of this team. They're ready to go week 1. I don't think Cal is. So that's a loss. Hosting Texas Southern, that's an FCS opponent. I think you could chalk that up easy. Not a lot of conversation to be had there. That's a win for Cal. So they're 1-1, and then they host Minnesota. Similar to the Duke game, I think Cal could win this game versus Minnesota. However, I do think because it's week 3 of the season, that chemistry that I'm talking about isn't quite there yet, and PJ Fleck is a big motivator, especially on the road. He's going to get his guys ready to play for this game. I think that'll be a loss. So 1-2 at San Diego State. That's a game I could see Cal losing, especially if the wheels are falling off the wagon after week 3. If Oregon State and Minnesota end up being like blowout losses, the calls for Justin Wilcox's job could be getting louder and louder. The roster could already be looking at the transfer portal like, can't wait to get there. So San Diego State is a dangerous game. I will give them a victory there. Next up, at Boston College. I like Bill O'Brien as a coach. Not a lot of people like to say that kind of thing. I think he can do the job that a lot of people are not expecting him to do. I will give Cal the loss there because they've got to travel across the country. It's going to be one of the longest flights in college football next year. Cal takes an L there. Coming back, hosting Duke. Like I said, this is where if the Golden Bears were to put it all together, they could be a force to be reckoned with for a Duke team traveling a long distance. But I think Manny Diaz will have his guys ready to go. That's a loss for me. Then hosting North Carolina. Bill Belichick coming into town. That's a long way to travel, and I just don't think this Bill Belichick team is ready to compete for an ACC schedule. Like it or not, they also have the same problem as Cal does. There are tons of holes on that roster, and if it was at home for North Carolina, I would give Cal the L, but because the Golden Bears are the ones that are hosting, I'm going to give them the victory. Moving on, at Virginia Tech, they've lost a lot of talent, but that Virginia Tech home crowd is something to be reckoned with. They still have a very capable offense. The defense is going to rebound as always. I think that's a loss for Cal. Then hosting Virginia. Virginia has struggled tremendously to get the quarterback right over the last few years. I don't think that they've done it quite yet, especially for a road game all the way into Cal. That's a win for the Golden Bears there. And then to wrap up the season, they've got at Louisville, at Stanford. Stanford, of course, being like their quote-unquote rival. I mean, yes, it's an in-state rivalry, but I mean, do we really recognize it as some kind of like tremendous rivalry? Not really. But I think that they can beat Stanford on the road, but they will indeed lose to Louisville. So right now, I believe they are 5-6 heading into the last game of the season, hosting SMU for the potential for a bowl game. But SMU is going to be in the category of maybe getting to the college football playoff. I don't know about that, but we shall see. As of right now, as it sits, I think SMU is a far more talented roster, even though they'll be on the road to Cal. I think that will end up being the X factor of that game. So overall, 5-7 record prediction for the Golden Bears. Can they outperform that? Absolutely. They could beat Minnesota or Duke. They could technically beat, I believe, Louisville on the road or Virginia Tech on the road. But the doubt seeps in for me when it comes to this team. They've been average at best. The expectations aren't very high. I think 5-7 may be even generous. So that's my record prediction and my thoughts on the preview for the California Golden Bears. Let me know what you think of their season in the comments and if they'll ever be able to retain the talent that they have to win big in the ACC. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time.